Welcome to You Are Your Name. My name is Dakin Ariel. I'm your host, and I'm joined by Marlo Shearing, who's the co-host, and our special guest is Lorenda Bardell, who is the president of the Kabalarian Philosophy and also a experienced instructor for our courses. Thank you for joining us, Lorenda.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
So the question today on mental balance is, what are some of the ways that a Kabalarian student would understand mental balance?
To find mental balance, we have to understand our thinking. And as we've discussed in previous podcasts, every thought that we have is a vibration, is energy, and is expressed either constructively or destructively. And we think, what is the power of thought? Every thought that any of us think is composed of language, and every thought is vibration or energy that flows out. And negative thoughts can actually change the energy of our bodies, and we can become sick as a result of mental tension. Now, we've talked about the necessity of having a balanced name, a name that's in harmony with our individual purpose in life, determined from the date of birth. And regardless of what the birth path or our date of birth say about what one should be, the name shows us what one is. So the name creates the mind and the channel of expression of the power of the word showing up in all the experiences of our life. And another aspect of mind is that every quality has a positive and negative side. So if we've been given a name that has predominance of a certain quality, then the tendency is to bring out the negative or emotional side, causing challenges. For example, we could say somebody with the name of Peter or Ralph, and there is such an individuality and a strength of mind of getting things going and initiating action, and they're very creative and original and independent and witty. But if there's too much of that quality, then it turns to the emotional side, and the emotional side shows bluntness and dominance and even striking out physically, and becomes a very self-centered quality. So our name has to have a balance of qualities in order to express constructively.
It's almost like a piano where you want to tune the piano and make sure it's in perfect balance so you can play your composition on it. So our life is the song we're playing, but we want to make sure that the actual instrument is balanced.
That's right. And where there's harmony between the names and the birth date, then there is success. And harmony is that positive, constructive expression of the qualities that we reveal through a name analysis. And discord in our life is a result of the negative expression. So analysis of the name shows the nature, the desires, the emotions, the qualities of one thinking, our ideals, maybe even our mannerisms in speech and actions, the business nature of a person, whether we are responsible or of a scattering nature. So the mathematical principle taught in the Kabalarian Philosophy from 1 to 9 is the basis of the measurement of life, including mind. And in a name report, your name, when measured, becomes a mathematical formula that can be understood and changed for the better. So we encourage everyone to order a free name report to understand yourself and the reasons why you attract the conditions you do in your life.
So one question that might arise for someone without a familiarity with how this principle works is this idea that we attract the experiences relative to our name. And mathematically, we look at the name and we look at how the overall effect of the names create your environment and the experiences you attract.
So your name reveals your destiny, and name is composed of language. There is a power in words, an attractive power. We work hard at something and we build something and we create something. Mind is a creative power. And so everything we think has a bearing in our life. And that's why rather than looking outside ourselves, we have to look at ourselves and think, why did I attract that experience? What was in my thinking that attracted that experience?
So it's quite similar to that concept that Dakin just brought up of the piano, that to have harmonious chords, that we express through our thinking, we need that link to the principle of the balance of the mathematics of the name. And that balance then links us to a greater opportunity of expressing intelligence versus feeling.
Another aspect of that is you think about Peter, he's got these certain strengths in his name, which create his strengths in his mind, but he's got also weaknesses. So Peter wouldn't be naturally a good diplomat. You wouldn't put him in a position where he has to negotiate some treaty unless you wanted someone to have a black eye by the end of it, because he's usually pretty direct. So we attract our experiences, in a sense, by our qualities of mind. That he's going to be attracted to jobs where he can use those skills and excel at them, but obviously shy away from areas where he's not comfortable.
Yes, and also going back to the piano, we play the piano with both hands, left hand, right hand, and it's like having a first name and a last name. And then the combination of those two create our destiny. And we might start out in life being very creative, and then we start using our last name more and wonder why things are changing and why we're not getting ahead. And it's because this energy of our name is producing certain results.
Maybe another aspect of that piano analogy is if you tune the piano with a balanced name, you still have to play the piano. You still have to practice and get your scales right, and then learn the skills of all of those 9 qualities. So that leads to the question, how does a Kabalarian establish balance once they have a balanced name? What are some of the tools that they use?
We have many study programs, and the first one is life analysis training. And that's where we learn the basic mathematical principle. We learn about ourselves, we learn about our family, and we learn about the broad universal principle of life and how everything is measured through mathematics. And then the next study program is cycle management training. And in finding balance and harmony in life, it's important to discover our true relationship to time. And then the third study program is healthy living. We understand why is a certain part of our body affected in a way and somebody else affected in another way. We might be in a family eating the same foods. Our body reflects the mathematical principle of the name. And then the next study program is how to be mentally free. How do we understand ourselves, but how do we understand this world around us and not be influenced to keep our minds free from, say, the turmoil of the wars going on and what's happening in various places?
One question that might arise is, how does cycles affect our balance? Why does knowing the cycles help us establish that balance?
Time is growth and follows the same mathematical principle from 1 to 9, indicating times to start important activities, times to further through association and expression, times to look after the details, to expand, and when to expect fruition of efforts. It lays out the pathway. And to understand the intelligence expressed through time and cycles, we have to realize that time is actually growth. Growth from seeding to harvest in plant life and from starting to fruition in human life. And the new seeds produced create the new cycle in nature, just as our new ideas can be started in the next cycle of time from 1 to 9. And so the cycles of time are continuous from the moment of our first breath to our last breath. And it lays out a pathway so that we don't have to fear the future. Many people feel the urges of the cycles. Time is a part of us, it's a part of our growth. And we might feel the urge to travel or the urge to step away from involvement. These cyclic influences are there, but to learn to understand them and put them into practice can create greater harmony and balance. We know there are times when it could be testing, so we would step back and work on details. And so using the cycles can really add a balance to our thinking.
One thing that comes to mind on cycles is that if you know that there's a quality to time and you do your actions relative to that particular intelligent quality, then you're more effective, you're more successful. So really, cycles is a way to become more effective in whatever our goals are, but also it offsets a lot of the challenges in life that come up because we start things at the right time rather than the wrong time, which then creates frustration and failures. So really, cycles becomes a critical tool for Kabalarians because it gives them an understanding of time and how to create the optimum growth for their efforts. You mentioned healthy living. People think healthy living is just eating a good diet. But how does the name affect your health?
As Lorenda said, the qualities of the mathematical principles of 1 to 9 are energies of life. And those energies have an influence not only through our thinking, but as we've mentioned, they express through time. As well, those qualities express through affecting the physical body. And so the physical body can be influenced by the tensions of too much of that one quality again. And so that individual feels that sense of tension, of not being able to handle diplomatic situations. And so those tensions affect his physical body through that quality of the number. So the healthy living course is so important to each individual to understand and recognize their personal mathematics, because we all have tensions. And then how are those tensions going to express in our physical health? How is that going to show up?
I'm going to give you 4 names. They're all the same mathematical combination. What would be the health weaknesses of somebody with the name of Doreen, Doreen, Mona, Mona, Marion, Marion, or Norma, Norma? What would be the health weaknesses of that particular name combination?
When you break that name down to a mathematical formula, it has a lot of the 7 quality. And so somebody with that name, there is a great oversensitivity in that name. And so they suffer with the heart and lungs and hay fever, sensitivities to pollen, for example. But basically, it's the lungs and the bronchial area of the body that is affected. And it's a very sensitive quality, and health can be an issue from early in life because of that oversensitivity.
How about Adrian, Adrian, or Sarah, Sarah, Diana, Diana? Those are all the same name combinations, so they'll have the same health problems.
And so this is strong in the 2 quality, and that 2 quality represents the fluids of the body. And so these individuals can retain fluids, swelling of the feet and ankles, kidney problems, all the areas of the body that are influenced by the fluid function. And so that quality is sensitive again, and their sensitivity is lack of confidence and that quality of standing back or holding back because they don't have that verve or that confidence of that inner nature. And so that would be their tensions that would then reflect in that physical body.
How about Terry, Terry, Brent, Brent, or Vern, Vern? What would the health challenges be of that combination?
The names just mentioned have a lot of the 5 quality, and it is not a relaxed quality. It's got so much drive, and it's go, go, go. This idea, that idea, impulsiveness. And so where it affects the people with the names with the 5 is in the stomach and the solar plexus area. A lot of tension, ulcers, just nervous tension constantly. It's very difficult for them to learn to relax because their minds are just going, going, going. And often their impulsiveness takes them into disappointing experiences, so they can really have the ups and downs in their thinking, the heights of optimism to the depths of despair.
And the 5 quality can make a mountain out of a molehill. They get very upset with little things and then they blow up. And they also have a very long memory. If you did something wrong to them, they'll remember it 30, 40 years later and they'll get even. So always treat them well. You don't want to put their nose out of joint. That gives our listeners a few tools. One is understanding mind through life analysis training, understanding time through cycle management training, understanding health through looking at how the mathematics affects the body. But the key, of course, really for fulfilling our purpose is that how to be mentally free. We talked about having a balanced name so that you can bring the inner potential out. But how would mental freedom play a role in creating mental balance?
When our minds are free from the turmoil of what's going on around us, understanding what's happening. Are we influenced by the wars? Do we worry? Are we worried about this or that? There's so many influences out in the world that we should be aware of to protect ourselves so that we find that mental freedom where our minds are always stable and happy. We can look at life, we see the challenges, but we keep ourselves safe by keeping our thoughts away from being drawn into the emotional impact of the things that go on around us.
Lorenda, I appreciate your perspective on those aspects of mental balance, and that will conclude our episode for this week. We have one more episode for the season. We hope to see you next week. Until then, happy thoughts. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. Number 1, the Balance Name Recommendation Service. Join the thousands of others who have harmonized their names with their inner potential to improve their health, happiness, and success. Number 2, learn the principles of mental freedom. Participate in our online training program to gain the essential tools to create all the progressive changes you seek in your life. These proven truths will open up new perspectives and accelerate your attainment of health, happiness, and success. Number 3, let Kalex Solutions help you choose a balanced name for your business, because many business names are an impediment to one's overall business success.